Okay, that's good. That's it for Indiana. I want to talk about the NFL playoffs. I want to talk about the Washington Commanders and what would happen if they beat the Lions and how they could beat the Lions. Where things stand right now are pretty clear cut and dry, right? It's the division round of the playoffs. The Detroit Lions are the 1 seed. They're at home. They're 15-2, but they've been absolutely decimated with injuries. With that said, they've made it work all year. They're still 15-2, despite those injuries that they suffered all year long. And they're likely going to get David Montgomery back when we get to that point for this game. He will play. So for the Lions, the Super Bowl window is open. They're contending. They have the NFC playoffs entirely at home. There's no clear world beater in the NFL right now. The Chiefs aren't the Chiefs of old, right? There's really no one. If anyone's the world beater, it's the Lions. But with how injured they are, I wouldn't consider them to be that unstoppable force. But still, a lot of openness to the Super Bowl this year, and Detroit Lions, their Super Bowl window is absolutely open. I'm interested to see if they have the ability to go out and win this one. Washington, on the other hand, they're a true wild card team, right? They're a 6 seed. They pulled off a miracle season just in year one with Jaden Daniels. They drafted quarterback. They turn around. They make the playoffs as a wild card team. They're playing with house money. They've long exceeded every single one of their goals and expectations for this season. So at this point, beating the Lions would just be a Super Bowl level amount of euphoria, right, for the Commanders. After all they've been through, the Commanders would really, really appreciate a win like this. It'd be, again, a euphoric season, unimaginable joy. It'd feel like they won the Super Bowl because this is as far as the Commanders have gotten in years. And this fan base really does deserve a success story like this one after all that they've been through with the Dan Snyder stuff. And, they move on from head coaches and they find themselves where they are now. The impact for Detroit is a bit more grim. If Detroit were to lose this game, right, their Super Bowl window is temporary, as all are. They'd be running out of time to keep these players healthy and young and not being forced to pay them as much as maybe they would in the future. This is a fan base that truly deserves it, right? Truly deserves the Lions Super Bowl. It's been forever, and they've been waiting on this forever. They're capable of it. Is this the year? Maybe not. I made a whole video on it. I probably shouldn't have, honestly, but I made a video about how I didn't think the Lions were going to win the Super Bowl. Got a ton of views, got a ton of hate comments, and the Commanders, if they were to end it for the Lions, that would be massively unexpected. And like I said, maybe it's not the year for the Detroit Lions to actually win it all, but for it to end this way would be tragic. And that would make this season feel like a failure. And of course, you kind of get a free pass with all the injuries, but it'd feel like a true disappointment if the Lions lost this way in this game to the Commanders. But if it happened, how would it happen? Right? If the Commanders put off the upset, how would it happen? To me, it comes entirely down to Jaden Daniels, right? Washington's offensive strength is the ground game. They're top 5 in just about every rushing category, which is partially dictated by just how much they do run. They have 31 rushes a game. It's just under 50%, which is a lot because it's a passing league now. So if you're running the ball half the time, that's a decent amount of the time, right? So the Commanders, with Jaden Daniels, a rookie quarterback and a running quarterback, but a rookie quarterback, Commanders rush a lot, right? Detroit is physical up front, and they're injured in the secondary, right? They're holding teams to under 100 yards on the ground on average. They're the number 2 most. Get this, all right? They're the number 2 in the league most often rushed against team. So the teams that the Lions face attempt rushes more than just about against any other team in the league, right? And still, the Lions are holding teams to under 100 yards on the ground on average per game. The Lions are physical up front. They're going to really give Brian Robinson Jr. a hard time. They're going to give the Commanders' rushing attack a very hard time. Now, Terrion Arnold is back, but the secondary has been largely destroyed by injury. So Jaden Daniels, the question there is whether or not he's going to be able to push the ball down the field enough to keep up with Detroit's high-octane offense, and similarly, whether or not they can get the run game going to really provide that balance. Because, again, this would be tragic for the Lions if this is the way their season ends. And for the Commanders, it would be a new level of success that they've never seen. It would inspire, especially if they don't win a Super Bowl this year, which they probably won't. It inspires a lot of hope for the future under Jaden Daniels and makes a lot of people think that maybe the Commanders would be capable of doing it. I want you to imagine the Washington Commanders in the Super Bowl, because I can't, right? That's not a memory that works in my head. That doesn't make sense to see those colors in the Super Bowl and see that logo in the Super Bowl, right? It's effectively a brand new football team with all the rebranding and Jaden Daniels in there now. If the Commanders can get there and the Commanders can do it, that's one thing. But this would inspire a lot of hope for the future for this football team if they were able to beat the Lions. Can Jaden Daniels push the ball down the field enough to keep up with the Detroit Lions? That's how they can make it close. From there, there's a whole lot more you got to do to actually win the game down the stretch. But if Jaden Daniels can push the ball down the field enough against this Detroit Lions secondary, and if he can have the opportunity to do so because there's balance on offense, if the run game is going, the Commanders might have a chance. It's not worth a full preview. It's an Indiana sports show, right? And this is a game that is more likely to go one direction than the other. But regardless, the question of whether or not the Commanders are capable of doing this is absolutely worth asking and absolutely worth looking out for as this game approaches.